Coming up in this broadcast, no academic fees for level 100 tertiary entrance, establishment of Youth Development Ministry, amongst other promises by the opposition NDC as it launched its election 2024 Youth Manifesto today, International Youth Day.
President John Mahama is simply promising that, one, for all university entrants into level 100, you are not paying academic fees.
Meanwhile, NDC flag bearer John Dramani Mahama is promising to include a lot more youth to serve in his next administration.
Ladies and gentlemen, their excellent performance gives me the confidence to appoint more young people to serve in my government from January 2025, when I am voted president.
Still to come in this broadcast, flag bearer of the governing New Patriotic Party describes a yearly renewal of driver's license as a nuisance as he's proposing extension to between 8 to 10 years.
This is DVLA echo renew. They say yes, extended 8 years, 10 years. Let's make sure you can have the driver's license without having to go to renew it every year. It doesn't make sense.
But the Ghana Private Road Transport Union, GPRTU, has questioned feasibility of the proposed levy.
All these things goes with a fee. These are the challenges we are facing. So this time around, we don't know if these things that they are bringing. The question is that thing also going to go for a fee? If yes, then why? If no, then okay, fine. Because already we've been renewing our licenses and we don't have any problem with that.
Tonight, we will be speaking to the Transport Committee of Parliament. Also in this broadcast, Group Head of EIB Digital urges government to issue proper regulations on the internet to control and educate the youth on how to ensure safety online as Ghana joins the rest of the world to commemorate International Youth Day.
There's not a lot of regulation that is helping us protect the youth from stuff like pornography, gambling, and things that within their age they shouldn't be exposed, and there should be proper regulation that helps us control what the youth eat.
We will also hear from some young persons on what needs to change to boost their confidence in the country.
If they should offer me an opportunity in Ghana and even, let me say, South Africa or something, I'll move to South Africa.
Really?
Yes, serious. Because Ghana, we are really suffering.
And later in this broadcast, Kolebu Renal Unit resumes treatment for inpatients following a 2-week closure due to delays in clearing essential consumables. There are more details in this report.
Starr News is coming to you live on Ultimate 106.9 FM in Kumasi, Empire 102.7 FM in Takrady, Cool 103.5 FM in Ho, Rage and Might FM in Tamale, Somali FM in Wa, My Star Radio in the USA. Also live on Facebook on Starr 103.5 FM and on starfm.com.gh around the world. This is Starr 103.5 FM.
Thank you very much for your company this evening. Remember that EIB remains your election hub, and on this bulletin, we start off with some election-related stories. Let's now begin from the camp of the National Democratic Congress, and the party has promised that all university students beginning the 2025 academic year will not pay academic fees for their first year, revealing its educational plan for the Ghanaian youth during the launch of its youth manifesto in commemoration of the 2024 International Youth Day. The NDC says, in addition to expanding the free SHS program to include private senior high schools, a John and Jane administration will ensure no first-year university students pays fees. Here is a member of the NDC Youth Wing.
President John Mahama promises to extend free SHS to cover the private senior high schools. Not only is he promising to dedicate a fund to free senior high school, but he's extending it to cover the private senior high schools. What do we mean? We have students who can't go into the public senior high schools, basically because the public senior high schools are full. But we have empty private senior high schools. If we can educate people at the same cost that we are educating people in the public senior high schools, in the private secondary schools, why do we leave the private secondary schools over there? Let's move them there and pay the same cost for them. And I think this is a very laudable initiative for which we should clap for John Mahama. I don't know if you're excited about the few policies I've mentioned yet, but if you're not excited, I'm sure the next one is going to shock you. I want you all to say with me, no fees stress. No fees stress. What are we saying? President John Mahama is simply promising that, one, for all university entrants into level 100, you are not paying academic fees. No academic fees for all level 100 students. We've heard many stories. We've heard many stories about students who finish school with 6 A's, 7 A's, 8 A's, and we have to start crowdfunding sources for them so they can enter into university. All of that would be a thing of the past in the next NDC administration. The second part of this policy is the Student Loan Trust Fund Plus. The student loan is basically dead as it is. When President Mahama comes back, he would revamp the Student Loan Trust Fund. And all those who struggle after the first year free academic tuition in university can apply to the Student Loan Trust Fund so they are able to continue their education without stress. So when I say education with Mahama, you say no fees stress. Education with Mahama. Education with Mahama.
Now on health, the NDC is also promising to revamp sick bays in schools to clinic and also to equip markets and church stations with clinics.
There are some other activities that we plan for us to improve access to care. There is the pharmacy care program, the pharmacy program. And what we are going to do under this, the NDC is going to do under this, is to change the regime so that pharmacies can have clinics attached to them. By this way, the care is going to be closer to people in the community. Also, we've heard about students not being referred to hospitals early from boarding schools and some of them dying. And the NDC's manifesto is going to set up satellite clinics as an elevated form of the sick base in all boarding schools. All boarding schools will have satellite clinics. Not just clinics, they will be manned by qualified health professionals so that when you're a child and you fall ill, you'll be attended to promptly, and if you need to be referred, you will be referred on time. NDC, we are all about the regular people. So we are not leaving out passengers, we are not leaving out drivers, we are not leaving out market women. What we intend to do is to attach clinics to markets and then church stations. This way, should you fall sick at work you'll be attended to promptly instead of going around hospitals and not having a bed to sleep in.
Well, the flag bearer of the NDC, John Dramani Mahama, has also assured he will appoint more youth in his administration.
The NDC's Youth Manifesto is the blueprint for our commitment to empowering the youth of Ghana and unlocking your potential for sustainable development. The theme for this year's International Youth Day is From Cliques to Progress, Youth Digital Pathways for Sustainable Development. Indeed, this theme perfectly underscores the transformative power of digital technologies in driving progress and shaping the future of our young people. As we celebrate young people's contribution to leveraging digital tools for positive change, I am proud to reaffirm our pledge, the Mahama and Nana Jane administration's pledge, to upskill digital skills and training for Ghanaian youth. We envision a future where every young Ghanaian has the opportunity to thrive in the digital age. And that is why we are committed to supporting digital startups and incubation hubs and training 1 million young Ghanaians in coding. And if you want to know who has plagiarized who, go to the NDC 2020 manifesto and look at page 88 and you see the Million Coders program there. Additionally, we will invest the equivalent of $3 billion in collaboration with the private sector to build a vibrant technology and fintech industry that will create jobs and boost economic growth in Ghana. The 24-hour economy policy we will implement in 2025 is a game changer that will open new job markets, foster entrepreneurship, and drive innovation. By creating an enabling environment for young people to thrive, we will lay the foundation for a prosperous future for all Ghanaians, not just a few. But our commitment to the youth goes beyond digital empowerment. The NDC Youth Manifesto outlines several key initiatives, including increased access to quality education from the basic and second cycle to tertiary levels, affordable health care, and numerous job creation programs. Since I launched Ghana's first national youth policy in Cape Coast in 2010, during my tenure as Vice President of this country, I remain committed to recognizing and honoring our youth on International Youth Day. And as President, I consistently hosted gatherings with young people and youth development stakeholders to celebrate the ingenuity and contribution of the youth to our country. And indeed, one of the most memorable of those occasions was the day I spent with a young cocoa farmer and his family in Asen North. We were later to come and win a historic by-election in that constituency. Also during my presidency, my government prioritized investments in youth development across various sectors, including education, skills training, health, recreation, sports, and job creation. We expanded access to skills training opportunities throughout the country, as well as to teacher and nursing training programs and tertiary education. I also purposefully appointed intelligent and hard-working young men and women to serve in my government, and they performed creditably well. Ladies and gentlemen, their excellent performance gives me the confidence to appoint more young people to serve in my government from January 2025, when I am voted president.
You just heard the former president, John Dramani Mahama, at the launch of the NDC's Youth Manifesto. Let's go over the phone lines and engage a deputy youth organizer of the party, Osman Ayariga, on this development. Thank you very much for your time this evening, Osman. So, today being International Youth Day and coinciding with the launch of the Youth Manifesto, what exactly is the NDC's message to the youth?
Thank you very much, and good evening to you. Good evening to your cherished listeners. And I believe you also interviewed me. You are a youth. So I'd also want to wish you a happy International Youth Day. And to every youth out there in Ghana who has lost hope in this current dispensation, who has lost hope in this current administration of Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo and Bawumia, any youth out there who is thinking of Japan, any youth out there who doesn't believe that he can make it or he will be able to afford himself 3 square meals, I tell you that today, with the launching of the National Youth Manifesto, the first of its kind from the National Democratic Congress Youth Wing, I tell you to allay your fears and come, because there's light just at the end of the tunnel, and we all are interested in building the Ghana we all want. A few excerpts from the youth launching of our manifesto speaks to so many things, but key among them is the fact that we're looking at how we can create jobs, and of course, sustainable jobs for the youth of this country, because we constitute a majority of the population of this country. To follow our program keenly, we did state emphatically that we're initiating what we call the Tutuwaa program, which is supposed to be a start-up engine to facilitate the creation, tracking, and mentoring of a minimum of 10,000 youth-established businesses annually, not 10,000 jobs, but 10,000 youth-established businesses annually. And this, we are also looking at expanding the National Apprenticeship Program, which we put in our manifesto. Key amongst the policies that we're looking at implementing also is to establish a youth entrepreneurs microcredit institution. And the government, the next NDC administration, would commit a seed fund of 750 million Ghana cedis to disburse affordable loans to young people, because it's going to be a microcredit. Young people want to do business. Young people do not have facilities. And we're looking at how we can help young people who want to go into entrepreneurship. Also, we look into the sector of agriculture. We're looking at establishing the farmers service centers, especially for the youth. And this is to support farmers, especially young farmers, by also serving as guarantees of farm inputs, farm produce, etc., fertilizer, environmentally friendly agrochemicals, etc., etc. So it's going to be like a unit where once you want to go into farming, a young person, you go there, they either train you or they give you farm input. As and when you produce, you sell, you come back, you pay, and they're able to refill to also help other farmers. But also, what we're looking at doing has to do with what we are implementing, the no-fee stress program. This is to alleviate the financial burden on parents and students in financing tertiary education. Basically, so we're looking at implementing a no academic fee policy at the university for level 100 students. So once His Excellency John Dramani Mahama becomes president in 2025 January, Inshallah, 7th of January, we are showing people who will be going into the university for the first time, level 100 students, that what we call the academic facility user fee, what we call the academic fees, will be absorbed by the government. So then moving forward in level 200, level 300, we'll make sure that we're able to redeploy the student loan trust fund plus to give continuing students the option to utilize student loans to finance their education directly, etc., etc. And of course, the game changer, which we are looking at creating more jobs, is the 24-hour economy. And if you listen to His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, we kept saying it's mind-boggling that people have decided not to understand the simple policy of 24-hour economy. This has been done in other countries, and it will surely be done in Ghana. And what did he say? It is just about the same job, 3 shifts, 3 different people doing the same job. So we are looking at expanding the economy. We are looking at producing and making sure that there's an economically friendly economy for young people to do business. There are more and more and more. And I can tell you as a matter of fact, this is the
certainly, Osman, we have heard so much about the 24-hour economy, but let's talk about one of the things that you spoke about with regards to job creation. That is the Ejuma policy that you're proposing. Very often when the campaign season is rife, we hear so many sloganeerings with regards job creation. Now, how different is this? And is there a blueprint that anybody can make reference to?
What we're looking at doing as far as the Ejumapa program is concerned, I said it's supposed to be some sort of a start-up engine. Now, it's supposed to be a program that will help young people to create businesses. It's supposed to be a program that will enable us to also track the businesses that young people are doing. You see, you cannot talk about the Ejumapa program without linking it to what we said. We are establishing the Young Entrepreneurs Microcredit Institution, which is going to have a 750 million seed capital into. So you see that the two policies are mutually inclusive and they are intertwined. So once you have the Ejumapa program, what it means is that there's going to be training of young people to go into businesses. Once you're looking at training young people to go into business, then there's the issue of funding. Then you come to what we call the Young Entrepreneurs Microcredit Institution, where we're going to have a seed capital of 750 million Ghana cedis. Of course, then it means that young people are going to be trained to be entrepreneurs, and there's some sort of funding for young people. So it's not just about sloganeering, but it's about we having a plan and we executing the plan. And it's about we also setting our priorities right, and that is what we are doing.
Right, let's focus on education now. You have promised that university students, level 100 starting from next year, if you're voted into power, will not pay university fees. What informed this policy?
Yes, most often than not, people who gain admission into universities find it very difficult to be able to fend for themselves, especially with the level 100 students. Most of the time coming from home, their parents find it very difficult to afford the first admission fee before they even get access into the university. So government is looking at absorbing the first fees once you gain admission into university. Then the subsequent fees, you then will be eligible to apply for your student loan trust fund, so that you can then use the student loan to be able to at least reduce the cost of living, pay some fees, then you'll be able to continue your education. So that is what actually informed the decision that we ought to help young people who have gained admission, first year admission into university. So that is what has informed that decision.
But if you're proposing students' loan for level 200 to 400 students, why don't you start from level 100?
Hello?
Hello, Osman.
I didn't get a question.
Right, I'm asking that if you're proposing a student's loan for level 200 to 400 students, why are you not starting from level 100?
Most often than not, people are able to access the student loan trust fund when they are already in school. So most of the time, you actually need certain guarantors, which I think now the guarantor system is off. But part of the eligibility to gaining or accessing the student loan trust fund, you ought to already be a student. So we looked at how we can at least reduce that burden from the parents and the students, that let government absorb the first admission fee. Then the subsequent fees, then we can have access to the student loan trust fund, which then will be made available for you moving forward. But most importantly, this is a promising policy that is also looking at reducing the burden of parents and also on students. It is about setting our priorities right. It's about rededicating money into the right places. If you even do the arithmetic, which some media houses have started in the arithmetic, where are we going to perform? Are we sure we can do it? And I can tell all certainty from the simple arithmetic, because currently the academic fees for universities hovers around 1,800 to 2,200. If you do the mathematics and the analysis, then you are looking at last year's students that were admitted was around 125,000 students. If you do the arithmetic, that is about 275 million Ghana cedis. Then you ask yourself, 275 million Ghana cedis for young people going to university the first time, vis-a-vis over 300 million Ghana cedis that has been spent on a pit in the name of a cathedral, or over 200 million Ghana cedis that has been given to the vice president's brother in the form of bloated contracts, or over 200 million Ghana cedis that has been given to the president's daughter and her associates in another bloated contract in the name of ambulances. So you see that it's about resetting our priorities right. This is This is a very beautiful policy. It's a policy that we think will go a long way to alleviate the poverty of. Thank you.
Right. Now, from what you're saying, does it stick to say that you are looking at covering just the academic user fee and leaving the hostel fee, among others, for the parents to cater for?
Yes, for now, we are looking at covering only the academic user fee, no academic fees. The policy sticks to academic fees. Then again, if you talk about even accommodation, we're also carrying out an aggressive bid for all program in the private sector to be able to build enough accommodation facilities on tertiary campuses to provide beds and spaces for students and arrest the accommodation crisis in the tertiary campuses. So you realize that we are coming in to reduce the pressure on parents, reduce the pressure on students, and we think this should be applauded, this should be welcomed by all well-meaning Ghanaians who want us to build the Ghana we all want to be. Thank you.
But for purposes of clarity, have you been able to quantify this amount?
Yeah, I just did an analysis for you that in the last year, admissions in public sectors was around 125,000 students. The academic fees for students, public institutions, based on different universities, was around 1,800 cedis to 2,200 Ghana cedis. When you do the computation, you're looking at hovering around 275 million to 300 million Ghana cedis. And I said that this is not even up to the money that was spent on digging a hole called the cathedral. This is not up to the money that was spent on inflated contracts on the ambulance fees in the case of the president's daughter and her associates. So you realize that it's about resetting our priorities, right? And that is what we seek to do. Thank you.
Now, if you look at the economy currently, you have noticed that we are currently seeking assistance from the IMF. We will still have some debt to pay. So with all of these promises that you're making, what is the source of funding?
I've told you, it's not about where the source of funding is or the source of funding. It's about setting your priorities right. And I told you, if a government can spend over 500 million on digging a hole in the name of a cathedral, if that government wants to set its priorities right, then that government can spend 275 million Ghana cedis on making sure that young people are able to have education in the first year of university. It's about setting our priorities right. The resources are available, but it's about setting our priorities right. If an individual who by proximity to government official, his brother is the vice president, is able to secure bloated contracts of over 200 million Ghana, that same over 200 million Ghana can be used to fund the level 100 students in various universities. So it's about getting our priorities right and setting our priorities right. Thank you.
You also spoke about putting up satellite clinics in all the boarding schools across the country. Tell us more about that.
Yes, in most of the boarding schools, you would realize that most of the time issues of health, once there's an issue of health, sometimes the sick base, and most institutions have what they call the sick base, which are very small and are unable to accommodate or able to cater for any form of health situation. So we're looking at constructing the health mini clinics so that at every institution we'll be able to at least cater for young people. Don't forget that beyond that, we started aggressively the construction of chip compounds across the country. So it's just the same formula we're looking at constructing most health facilities within the various institutions. So we're trying to help students who may fall sick, who may not be well at certain points in time. And this is looking at catering for them. This is not something that is difficult to do. And I say again, it's authentic. It's about setting your priorities right as a country and as a government. And that is what we seek to do.
Great. So I believe that you may have had a fair idea of the number of boarding schools in the country. So you still insist that you will be able to provide healthcare for them by setting your priorities right, is it?
Come again, I didn't hear you.
I am saying that I believe that before you came up with this promise or proposal, you may have had a fair idea of the number of boarding schools in the country. You are still insisting that setting your priorities right will help you provide your proposed healthcare to these schools. Is that it?
Absolutely. Health is wealth. You cannot have institutions and not think about how you're going to cater for them in terms of their health. It cannot be the case that once there's a little hitch or there's a little issue of health, you have to carry the student all the way into town to look for a health institution. I don't want to revisit some incidences in some boarding houses where some delay in one way or the other have led to the demise of some students. And these are the things that have informed us well as that these things have become a need and we need to work on it. We build dormitories in various institutions, we build classrooms, we expand schools. We started aggressively construction of 200-day schools. We built a number of them. We've built dormitories, we've built classrooms. So this is just about reaching that. This time around, we also want to focus on building some health facilities within the schools.
And how much will this cost? I mean, putting up the satellite clinics across the country.
Well, we haven't put a cost to it. Of course, before we come to the cost, and that will have to go through some design process. It will go through some construction process. It will go through detailed process, etc., etc. No costing has been put to it. But to put up a satellite health facility, it's not going to be a very huge hospital. It's not going to be like a regional hospital. It's not going to be a very big hospital that we cannot do. I mean, it's something that will be well within a favorable budget that we will be able to construct. I don't want to take the work of maybe the architects or the engineers that will be designing. Once we get there, and based on the various institutions, based on your numbers, that would inform the kind of design and the kind of costing that will lead to it.
Are you then admitting that this policy has not been well thought through and you're just throwing around words to excite the youth?
Not at all. Why would you say it has not been well thought through? I've told you what informed the decision to go into that policy. The fact that I am telling you that...
But Osman, I'm saying this because you're saying that...
Do you know that in constructing a 6-classroom block, it costs differently to construct a 6-classroom block in Bolga, and it also costs differently to construct a 6-classroom block in Accra. The difference is there. Based on the location, it will give you different figures. So the fact that you ask a specific figure for the construction of a health unit, and I'm saying that the costing to the detail has not been done, doesn't mean that it wasn't a well thought through budget. Do not.
But I mean, you should be able to give us a price range.
No. It is about we saving lives. It is about we putting our priorities right. That we want to construct many clinics in various schools, and that we want to do, that we can do, and that we will do. And I tell you again, time without number, it is about the government setting its priorities right. We set up our priorities to build 200-day schools. And if I remember, when we were promising to build 200-day schools, we didn't say that it will cost X amount or Y amount. We just said that we wanted to make sure that these are our priorities, and we're going to construct 200-day schools. We started some cost differently based on their geographical location. So, and I'm telling you again that we are committed to constructing these health facilities in the various schools, and that we will do. It's not about digging holes in the name of a cathedral. It's not about bloated contracts. But it's about getting our priorities right. Health is wealth, and that we will do. This is a well thought out policy, and we shall go ahead and implement it. Inshallah, once John Dramani Mahama is made president of the Republic of Ghana.
Right, thank you very much. That is Osman Ayariga, a deputy national youth organizer for the National Democratic Congress. He's been saying that their policy or their proposal to cater for the first-year university student, the fees of the first-year university students, will cost the country about 275 million Ghana cedis on the average for about 125,000 students across the country. We'll be monitoring how that pans out. But the flag bearer of the governing New Patriotic Party and Vice President Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia has described the yearly renewal of driver's license as a nuisance, as he's proposing extension of about 8 to 10 years. Motorists suffer harassment from officials from DVLA and police over non-renewal of their licenses. According to the Vice President, the current system is inconvenient for drivers and must be extended. Addressing chiefs and the other stakeholders at the Buedua in the Akwitia constituency of the Eastern region, Dr. Bawumia said it does not make any sense for drivers to renew their license every year.
Drivers and your driver's licenses no every 2 years we are not expire and yes sir. Just a DVLA echo renew. They say yes, extend it. 8 years, 10 years. Let's make sure you can have the driver's license without having to go to renew it every year. It doesn't make sense.
Well, the Deputy National Industrial Relations Officer for the Ghana Private Road Transport Union, Samuel Amoah, has been making some reservations. Let's take a listen.
We had an information that the Vice President, Dr. Mahmoud Maobia, made a statement that, we the drivers, normally we do renew our licenses in every 2 years. And he was, saying that he think he wants to extend that 2 years to maybe 8 or 10 years. Yes, when we heard of that, we say yes, if Dr. Mahmoud Maobia can be able to, extend it, it's fine. But let's not forget that this our licensing issue. We have been having problems, on our licenses. You see, initially, before when we started, I remember we started with a yellow booklet. Then it was changed to brown booklet. All these things, whenever a government comes and they want to do these changes, it goes with a fee. And then they also changed from the brown booklet to a card. That one also goes with a fee. Then later on, they are changing that the brown card to another green, a form of green card or whatever. Let me say it this way. All these things goes with a fee. These are the challenges we are facing. So this time around, we don't know if these things that they are bringing. The question is that thing also going to go for a fee? If yes, then why? If no, then okay, fine. Because already we've been renewing our licenses and we don't have any problem with that. And if they will extend it, it's a matter of, checking and see if they will not impose any fee that, will be too much on us. Then I think we don't have any problem with that.
Well, Starr News has also been engaging some intercity transport operators, and this is what they had to say. Take a listen.
It's quite good, because assuming I'm using my license and it's about 1 year or 2 years, which it has to expire, and then which it has expired, I have to renew it maybe for the next the next 2 years. And maybe at that moment, I don't know, my financial situation is quite low. So no, it's not that good, which for me to extend. But when it's extended to maybe either 2 years or 3 years or 4 years, I think by that time maybe it's more or less like you are at secondary school. By the 4 years there, approximately 4 years you are done, or 3 years you are done with the secondary school. So the next level is your tertiary. So for the extension, I think it's quite good. But I think that it's supposed to be on a digital way. As he said, it's supposed to be a digital way, like ECG. When you want to buy prepaid, just in your room, blah, 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 you just buy it, you upload it on your meter. I think that one is supposed to be extended to a digital way.
Okay. The elasticity or the period of the renewal of the licenses will only benefit drivers or those who have cars. The youth today is looking at, for instance, I've been out of school for 3 years now and there's no job in the system. So the youth is looking at something beneficial. License, what will it do to us? That's what we should think about. Yes, it will benefit the drivers, whereby maybe the amount they used to pay, just some percentage will be added for them to renew it in the next 10 years or 8 years as he's proposing. But that's not what the youth is looking at.
10 years, okay, but I mean, we can say, so, was 1 year, 1 year, and I say, a question, I say, because this is Casamo, maybe enough of that. If the long term, that's 10 years, they reduce it fine. That one better. And that's 1 year, 1 year, that one.
You just heard some concerned citizens of the country expressing their opinions about the president's or the vice president's proposal that the licensing system will be extended between 8 to 10 years. Let's now go over the phone lines and speak to the Deputy National Industrial Relations Officer of the Ghana Private Road Transport Union, Samuel Amoah. Thank you very much for your time this evening, sir. Now, what is your immediate reaction to the proposed extension of the renewal of the driver's license by Dr. Baumia?
Yeah, thank you very much. Let me say good evening to your listeners. The thing is, yes, we had that information that the vice president is saying that we are trying to extend the renewal of our driver's license, of which, when we heard of this, yes, we know if they say they are extending it from 2 years to maybe 8 years or 10 years. That is fine. But the question is, how is going to be the fee? Because this our licensing issue, anytime there will be an issue around an issue concerning our licensing, goes with a fee, a special fee. If I may not take you back, we started from with the commercial drivers who were using the yellow booklet form. We started from the yellow booklet. Later, it was changed to brown booklet. When it was changed from yellow to brown, it went for a cost, of which it was quite difficult for most of the drivers to go by it. Then later, it was changed to the biometric form, that is the card one. Then another time, it was a change again to another card system. All these things, goes, with a fee. So this time around, yes, we renew our driver's license every 2 years. It goes with a fee. And even now, they are also charging a delinquency. That is a penalty. If the license is expired and you don't go and renew it on, means that it's going to affect, another penalty that you are going to pay. This time around, as we are extending it from the 2 years to 8 years, how much is going to be the fee again? That is our challenge. If it will be, normal fee, I think we will not have any problem with that. But they should look into it, and maybe I believe that they have to sit with the transport, operator, the leadership. Then they tell them, okay, now we are extending it. Formerly, you were paying, the renewal is this amount for 2 years. Now we want to extend it to 8 years. This is how much you are going to pay. Then we understand before we also sell the idea to our drivers, so that before it will come, then I think everything will be transparent for us also to understand what we are going to pay for. So I think that is our take.
You are also questioning the feasibility of this proposal. Why is that? Do you think it is impossible?
Yes. If you are saying, I don't get you. You saying, do we think it's impossible about the feasibility?
Yes, you have raised some doubts about the feasibility.
Yes. You see, we've had that experience before. As I said earlier, when the frequent changes of these licenses from here to here to here, all these things, the fees will not be communicated to us before. We sleep and wake up. They say we are changing the license from here to here. When you go before, they will give you the fee. If you don't have the money, then it means that you have to sit down, look for the money before you can go and change the license. That is why I'm saying that they should communicate the fee to the leadership so that we know about what we are going to do. Than to sit down, they will say, oh, we are going to extend it from 2 years to 8 years. A driver will be thinking that maybe he's going to pay the same renewable fee. Maybe it will not be like that. So that is our problem.
Right, but the vice president insists that this policy will reduce the harassment you face from the police personnel. Don't you agree? Does that not excite you in any way?
Oh yes, it's good. I'm not disputing that. And it's a good thing that he say he's bringing. Okay, because if today I renew my license, and it will take me about 8 years before I renew again. Because most of the time, because sometimes, the 2 years will expire, and some of the drivers, it will be an oversight. They will even forget to renew it. So if you renew it from today and you have about 8 years to go, I think it's good. But the challenge we are facing, we have been facing these things. The problem we are having now that we are thinking about is the fee, the feasibility. Is the issue here that we want to know before we stick our head into it.
So what for you would be the way forward?
Oh, the way forward is, yes, he has said it. We are expecting them, or we are expecting the vice president to meet the transport operators, the leadership, so that he will give them a further explanation, a detail of what he is bringing, so that we understand. Because yes, we have leadership. We have met him before. We have met him before. Even when we had our 11th Quadrennial Delegate Congress, he was there. So it's not difficult for him and his leaders to meet the leadership of GPRTU or the transport operators, so that they will explain things for us to understand. Then we also move ahead.
Thank you very much. Samuel Amwa is the Deputy National Industrial Relations Officer of the Ghana Private Road Transport Union.
Starr today. First, fast, and credible.
Well, you're still listening to Starr Today, and that is all we have for you on the campaign trail today. You're still listening to Starr Today, and as I said earlier, today marks the International Youth Day. And so the group head of the EIB Digital, Kwabena Ofe Kwade Nkrumah, is urging government to issue proper regulations on the internet to control what the youth consume. Some youth in the country say until there is a paradigm shift in the style of governance in order to offer them more economic opportunities, their quest to flee the shores of Ghana to see greener pastures overseas will remain. They are also demanding good education, among others. Some youth in the area of Accra have been speaking to Starr News as Ghana joins the rest of the world to commemorate International Youth Day under the theme that from clicks to progress, youth digital pathway for sustainable development.
If the elected president should do something for me, all what I want him to do is to solve the unemployment rates in the country.
I think improving the quality of education will do. Because right now, almost everybody, after completion of first degree or even diploma, is running outside to do masters. And I don't understand. If the quality of education here is very useful, I don't think people will be running outside to go and do their masters and their PhD. So if the president-elect or the president to come focuses on education, not just to the secondary level, but also paying attention to the degree and then the masters and the PhD to go along.
Today, when you get an opportunity here in Ghana, same opportunity maybe in Canada, will you choose Ghana? Will you stay in the country or you go abroad?
I'll go abroad.
And why?
Okay, I'll go abroad because the current state here in Ghana, we all know it's unbearable to some extent. It's unbearable compared to Canada. So I'll definitely go outside. Yes, I'll go to Canada.
Yeah, I believe in Ghana. Ghana will work if you should have a good person, or I don't know who is good, but if you have a structured system and if you have to follow everything you do, Ghana, we have all the resources. We have good people that can make this country be back. Ghana was good. If they should offer me an opportunity in Ghana, and even let me say South Africa or something, I'll move to South Africa.
Really?
Yes, serious. Because Ghana, we are really suffering. Me, I'm not working, but I'm even feeling the pain in there. So Ghana needs some change. Yeah, Ghana needs some changes. And it's like, I don't know, I've not voted before. I'm not going to vote.
Why won't you vote?
I'll not vote.
Why?
I don't have to vote. I've not benefited from Ghana. Yeah, I'm 22 years now and I've not benefited anything from Ghana. I've never seen diamond before. I've not seen gold before. I've never seen any. You see that all these things, but we have the privilege to see all those things. And you have to have them, but we don't have. So me now, I don't see the essence for me to vote.
You just heard some youth expressing their frustrations, among others, as the world marks International Youth Day. Let's engage our group head of EIB Digital, Kwabena Ofe, or Kobji Spikey. That is the name he prefers, for more on this development. Thank you very much for your time this evening, Spikey.
Thank you for having me.
Great. So the theme is from clicks to progress. Youth digital pathway for sustainable development. How do you understand this?
So from clicks to progress, obviously it means that the youth are doing a lot of clicking, and which we already know, a lot of the youth are living online, using all these internet platforms. And I think that it's all about them being able to leverage these platforms to be able to progress in their lives.
Right. And what do you think that youth in Ghana basically do on the internet?
Oh, well, they do a lot of social media. There's data to prove that. I can pull some of that up right now. I mean, if you've ever seen the data report for the global internet usage in Ghana, as a matter of fact, you can see that 16 to 24-year-olds spend 96.9% of their time on social networks.
Doing what exactly?
Social networks.
Right.
So they're either consuming content or they're engaging with their friends. They're communicating with other friends. And then 96.4% of their time is spent on chat and messaging. Before it comes to 82.6% search engines, and then 72% shopping, then 55% music, then maps, then entertainment, then email, then games, then weather. Nowhere in there do you see anything about news or
education. Or anything of that matter.
And this is even global, and so definitely it applies to the youth in Ghana as well.
But what do you think would contribute to this data?
Well, you see, the thing is, it's undeniable. If we go back a few generations, I mean, let's just even go back one generation where there was no social networks or chat apps or whatsoever. We engaged with each other and we watched a lot of traditional content, like traditional media, TV. Maximum, you'd listen to a CD or a cassette. I don't know if you experienced that.
I did experience that.
Oh, you did?
I did.
Okay.
I'm not a Gen Z.
Well, so yeah, there was that. And now the youth have a plethora of choice when it comes to media that they can consume. You go on TikTok, and I was looking at the charts recently, and it's about millions of contents are created in every 60 seconds. That's so much of their attention, to compete with. And you can't expect them, they don't run out of choices. Back when you and I were younger, we used to run out of movies to watch because it's what you were given. But now it's a pull. They demand and they get. You go, and I was even having a discussion with a friend yesterday about how I discover music. You go on Spotify and you can discover new music every single day. But previously, it's only what you were exposed to on radio, or maybe a friend was playing something, that's when you'd hear it. So there's that. The democratization of media has sort of created a huge pool, and it's competing for the attention of the youth. And so we've had countless times where all these social media platforms, the Facebooks, Instagrams, are being asked to regulate how much time the youth spend online because it could impact their mental health. And it is true because, I mean, think about it. If most and some of this data actually says it, most of these youth are replacing their spare time with consuming social media content or interacting with friends on social media. So very rarely do they actually go out of their scope of entertainment for something other than, more entertainment.
Right. Now, you talk about regulations, and as you have clearly explained to us, do we have the required regulation locally?
No, we do not. I mean, it takes a whole lot. There's, even internationally, even in the West, there's not a lot of regulation. It's still... the truth of the matter is that technology is always fast moving. You might regulate this section. Next thing you know, another sector has already developed, and now you're thinking, how are we going to regulate this? There was regulation for the youth on what kind of content they could be exposed to, but then social media happened. You had Facebook, you had TikTok, and so all these platforms are being somewhat regulated about how they ensure that the youth or younger people are exposed to only content that they could see. And when I say younger people, let me say kids. So on YouTube, for instance, you have YouTube Kids, which is only for kids. Even then, you still have some content that is not designated for kids sneaking in there, being exposed to kids. So you can imagine... I can boldly confess, when I wasn't 18, I would lie about my age to have access to certain websites.
Right.
And who's stopping any kid from doing that now? Who's stopping any young person under 18 from lying about their age to have access to content that is 18 and above? No one. There's no actual regulation. The regulation lies on the parents or the supervisors of these youth to ensure that they are using the internet in responsible ways. And in a country like Ghana, where a lot of the older generation don't even understand this space, how do they know how to regulate their youth, on what kind of content they're being exposed to on the internet.
Right. But so do you think we'll ever get there to that era of regulation?
It's tough. It's a tough call because it can either make or break the internet. And when I say
How will it break the internet?
because there's a lot of talk about censorship. You know, people feel like we should have freedom of speech, freedom of expression, freedom of browsing. I shouldn't be limited to like the kind of websites I want to visit. I shouldn't be limited. You know, people are always complaining about
But I mean,
China.
the fact that they have choices doesn't mean that they're always opting for the right choices.
Mhm.
That could be harmful for the next person.
But that could also begin to affect other people who actually have the choice. If you begin to regulate a certain group of people, how long until that regulation starts to spread to other groups of people? Maybe then I decide that some other person comes into power, a dictator, and decides that, hey, I do not want these kinds of people having access to this content, so block all of them. How do you regulate that? How do you control that? You know, there might be abuse of power. The internet is a powerful tool, but just like every other thing in this world, one side fixes stuff, the other side breaks stuff. So, and as much as we're seeking regulation, I think the platforms need to be regulated on how to protect its users, and not the users being regulated on how to use the platforms or the technology. You understand? So, say, I would rather Facebook was regulated and made sure that people who set up accounts on Facebook.
I mean, is that an example you're giving?
Yes,
Or
an
that's a
example.
proposal, right?
It's an example. I would
But
rather.
why Facebook?
I mean, it could apply to any other platform. I'm just giving. So let me remove Facebook and say every social media
I'm
platform.
asking because you know there are people that say that a lot goes on Facebook, unlike Twitter and Instagram and the other apps where there's some level of sanity, if I may put it that
on
way.
Twitter, sanity is
but you know,
insanity.
with Facebook, for instance, there are so many imposters. They have literally clouded the platform. That is the reason I thought you were.
Oh no, I'm not. I'm not targeting Facebook for.
Right.
I mean, Facebook is a behemoth when it comes to social media.
They say it's for old men and women.
Yeah, that's what they say, but are we not there?
Yeah, there.
So what happens? What could happen would be that these social media platforms could be regulated and ensuring that the youth or whatever certain regulations are put in place to prevent content that shouldn't be displayed to certain groups of people. It shouldn't happen, you know. Right. So, like, if I set up an account, there should be a way that the platform knows that I'm actually 18, and so content that's 18 plus, although it's not allowed, people find their ways to getting that on there, especially on X. When you go on X right now, it's free for all because Dada Elon bought it and decided free speech for everyone, and so you have there's so much pornography on X, for instance, and anyone who creates an account Snapchat, and they can't sort of control who gets to see what, but that should be the case. I know ideally you can't even sign up for some of these platforms if you are not up to a certain age, but then, like I said, we all lie.
But so that's the thing. If you're able to lie plainly that you're 18 when you're not, that only means that those questions they ask are just mere formalities.
Indeed. Which is why sometimes they get fined, they get fined hugely because they did not put in measures enough to protect their users.
Right.
So if there's a lot of content that's harmful content that people end up finding, like there was a young lady who committed suicide because she kept seeing, the algorithm kept recommending depressing content to her. And there's a saying that when you're in love, you find more love content on social media. When you're suffering from a heartbreak, you find more heartbreak content because of the algorithm.
Right.
Because if you are suffering a heartbreak, there's a high possibility you keep double tapping things that feed that emotion. And so the algorithm starts showing you more of that. Now, put that into context, and a young person on the internet seeing, stuff that are depressing because they're depressed, that platform will feed them more. And then it feeds into that emotion, pushes them over the top, and they decide to take their own lives. Pinterest was, sued for that because when they went through this young person's feed, they realized that she had been exposed to a lot of that kind of content. And the consequences of these things, it may look or seem so out of the world, because in our part of the world, we don't usually take mental health seriously or take psychological things seriously. Say, oh, it's a work of the devil, or it's bad influence. But all these things contribute to pushing people over the wall. So,
right, but briefly, since there can be a regulation, at least for now, what is the way forward? Just briefly.
I think that parents and people who find themselves as guardians should learn more to be able to supervise the youth on what kind of content they're using. It does, provided they're under 18, I think that you should be able to know what your kids or your youth are doing online to protect them and to protect you.
Right, thank you very much.
Thank you for having me.
Is the head of the digital department here at EIB Network. And on the positive side, however, some youth have been using the internet for good. We at EIB celebrate our in-house wins on that front, where one of our presenters, Blessing Bliss Frimpong, has charted the digital path to bring learning the English language on the internet interesting. Well, her teacher Blessing Brandt has garnered over 700,000 followers on Instagram, putting her in a lead when it comes to achieving SDG 4, that is to ensure inclusive and equitable quality education and promote lifelong learning opportunities for all. We spoke to her earlier.
Of sports, there's another thing I can develop, but they don't have that because AI is just going to do the research for you and give it to you. So there's no extra information beyond the scope of your studies. So really, are you studying or you're answering questions is the issue with AI.
It's been an enlightening experience looking at how I started and where I am now. The fact that I needed to learn things that I didn't know just to be able to produce content like video editing, like understanding lighting, sound, camera, and how to use your camera to take videos, how to set it, and all of that. Aside that, I am always and constantly learning because there are updates every now and then, and you need to always be atop of those. You need to always be abreast with everything that is coming from the platforms that I'm concerned with. So I'm constantly learning, I'm constantly discovering, and it has been a great journey. Seeing the fact that people see me, hear my name, watch my video, and they're happy. Reading emails and messages that say, because of you, I am confident. Because of you, I've learned a lot. Because of you, I know a lot, is the best reward I can ever have or get. And it's always surreal for me.
You just heard Blessing Bliss Frimpong, one of our presenters here at the EIB Network, who's been using the internet for good. Now, away from that, the renal unit of the Kolebu Teaching Hospital has resumed dialysis treatments for inpatients following a 2-week closure due to delays in clearing essential consumables needed for dialysis at the Tema port. The facility is now expecting to take delivery of these consumables by close of day on August 12 to allow for full operations for outpatients on Tuesday, August 13. Now, speaking to GH1 News' Nadima Umar Uthman, Public Relations Officer for the Kolebu Teaching Hospital, Mustafa Salifu, assured enough measures have been instituted to cater for the backlog of patients and not to prevent any future delays.
You know, the renal dialysis unit is one of the very important things we have in the hospital. And then the services we provide here is reliant on the consumables that we use. That is the things that we need to feed into the machine so that we can actually provide the service to the patient. And these are consumables that we import from Europe. So, and sometimes there's challenges. Sometimes you can have a challenge with the shipping line, you can have a challenge with the supply and that kind of thing. So in the current one, we have planned that before 2 weeks ago, we would have taken delivery of the consumables so that we can continue the service without any break. But it happened that there were some challenges with the supply line. They didn't give us the right documentation for it to enable us to go through the process. So by the time that they completed, there was a delay. in clearing the goods from the port. But there's a second tier of supply that we use, but that person has also run short of it. But when we finally closed, we got some of the consumables for us to resume operations this morning from one of the suppliers. So, but the main supply, the quantity that we have, 40-footer container and then 20-footer container, they are being cleared from the port, and then it's expected that they will be delivered to us in Kolegu today, so that we can we'll prepare ourselves and then open up to the outpatients. For now, we are only taking care of the inpatients, which we started today. And this morning, so far, we have done about 5 dialysis for 5 patients. And I hope that once we take delivery of the containers from the Tema port, we will open up to the outpatients as well.
So full operations begin tomorrow?
Yes, hopefully tomorrow. As soon as we take delivery of it, tomorrow we have full operations. We go full throttle, and everybody will have their dialysis done.
Okay. Well, you mentioned that there were some issues with like shipping, that you did not foresee this. That is why we're here. But moving forward, how is the hospital looking at curbing this so that it doesn't happen in the future? Are you putting in any measures so that we don't have the facility? Because we're hearing that, I mean, we can't confirm whether it's directly related or not, but some 3 persons had died due to the closure, the 2-week closure.
Yes, as you rightly pointed out, we can't directly tie the death of our renal patients. In fact, we work with them as a family. They come to us, we hold meetings with them. So losing any of them is also a loss to the hospital and all of us, particularly those of us who work with them. So the measures we are putting in place, first and foremost, we decided to open a second tier of the supply line, and then the Minister of Health, through the active involvement of the Minister, Honorable Bernard Okoboy, he has procured about 30 additional machines from us that will enable us to source the consumables from other sources rather than just from the supply we have currently. So when that one comes in, already the procurement process has been completed, and we are expecting delivery of these new machines and then a year's supply of their consumables. So when they come in, we are sure that if there are any challenges with the current one, but we still have the second tier to follow. So that is what we are using to serve as a buffer, so that we avoid the running short of consumables and then suspending operations in the unit.
These 30 new dialysis machines, are they going to be housed here?
We have several places where we do, so we look at it in our planning and then spread them out, so that all the 30 obviously cannot go into this place. There's this new urology and nephrology center of excellence. We also have space for dialysis patients there. So, and then we also have the main medical block, and then even I think some of the other areas in the hospital. I think this is the first floor theater, and there are seats of recovery wards. There's also a bed there for them. So there are several areas within the hospital that we can distribute the additional machines that we are getting, so that we will not have to move patients to the cabin alone to dialyze them. So that is what we are going to do. In terms of, I think you're talking about backlog. In terms of that, the team will schedule every patient and then take them in, and so that nobody will lose out in this. We always make sure that we fairly, through a transparent process, schedule patients so that everybody will have their dialysis back.
The renal unit is mostly in the news because of the affordability. Because once there's any hitch here, patients are the ones who feel the brunt. And so I'm sure that is why consistently the Kolegu renal unit is in the news, and people talk about it. If there's anything that happens, people talk about it. There's been a number of issues in the past when it comes to cost and debt and whatnot. Moving forward, I would like you to give especially the patients, some reassurance when it comes to the operation of this facility.
As you see, it's not necessarily about the cost, because if it was just solely about the cost, then I'm sure some will be able to do something, despite the fact that our cost is also competitive. But the quality of the service that we deliver here, they will tell you that when they do it elsewhere, when they do it here and then do it elsewhere and do the comparison, they feel that they feel much better when they have it done here because of the experience, the professionalism of the staff, and then the equipment that we use. So, and we know that we are well aware of that. And let me tell you, it's never the intention of anybody in Kolebu to find ourselves in this kind of situation. When it happens, it's always issues that are beyond our control. Let's say the shipping line, for instance, it's not something that is within our remit to control and then determine when they deliver or when they are issuing the bill of lading, how they should. Sometimes you tell them, but then they still come back with mistakes. So but we are going to do a review again and then tell them so that we can avoid having the documentations done wrongly.
Okay.
So these are some of the measures we want to take so that we avoid. Plus, what the Honourable Minister is trying to get for us is a shot in the arm for us in our patients so that we will not find ourselves in this kind of situation again.
Okay.
You just heard my colleague Nadima Umar Uthman in a conversation with the Public Relations Officer of the Kolebu Teaching Hospital, Mustafa Salifu. Not from health, let's do some education-related stories. And the moderator of the Presbyterian Church of Ghana, Right Reverend Dr. Abraham Nana Opare Kwache, has called for urgent action to resolve the ongoing strike by the Colleges of Education Teachers Association of Ghana. Now, the strike, which began on June 14, was triggered by the government's failure to implement SITAC's arbitral award and conditions of service, further compounded by the freezing of SITAC members' July salary. The industrial action has left trainee teachers stranded, disrupted dissertation supervision for final year students, and thrown the academic calendar into disarray. Right Reverend Kwacha says that relevant stakeholders must attach a sense of urgency to the situation to continuously engage SITAC leadership to negotiate a resolution.
Commend them for the processes. There is an urgent matter that needs to be resolved, and it has to do with the 8-week strike by the tutors, the Colleges of Education Teachers Association of Ghana. Since June, they have been on strike, and this is disturbing because our colleges are yet to recover from the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic. I want to, at this point, on behalf of the entire Christian community of this country, make a passionate appeal to the Ministry of Education, the National Labour Commission, the Fair Wages and Salaries Commission, the Ghana Tertiary Education Commission, and the leadership of the Colleges of Education Teachers of Ghana to quickly find a middle ground and come to a settlement. Unfortunately, in Ghana they say that when two elephants fight, it is the grass that suffers. In this case, the struggle between SITAC and the government has led to difficulties imposed on the students of our colleges of education. And I want to take the opportunity to request for a quick settlement of this matter. It is not a good thing to leave these young people for several months without any sense of purpose.
Right Reverend Dr. Abraham Nana Opare Kwache is the moderator of the Presbyterian Church of Ghana.
Starr today, first, fast, and credible.
Let's do some business stories now. And Africa is set to have imported $50 billion worth of food into the continent in the year 2020. This development is worrying to the Secretary General of the African Continental Free Trade Area, Wamke Lemene, who wants African leaders to do more in terms of utilizing the vast arable lands on the continent. He was speaking at the 13th Ghana Economic Forum here in Accra. Calvin Powell has the details.
Data from the Economic Commission for Africa says intra-African trade stood at 13.7% as of 2022. This is significantly lower than intra-regional trade levels in Europe and Asia, which stands at 68% and 59% respectively, contributing to capital flight. To change the narrative, African trade ministers are being urged to provide a policy to enhance trade liberalization within the continent.
In the year 2020, Africa imported over $50 billion worth of food. Our continent, regrettably, is a net food importer. Grains, rice, maize meal, barley, all of these grains we import from around the world. And yet, we say, and correctly so, that Africa has over 60% of the world's remaining arable land. But we are a net food importer.
Speaking with the media, Dr. David Ofosu-Dotty, who spoke at the forum, lamented the high interest rate in the country, saying frequent increases in the monetary policy rate is not a panacea for the inflationary rate.
When you increase monetary policy rate, it is businesses who are already borrowing above 20% who suffer because the bank lending rate goes up. So it tends to drive down the business's ability to produce, which suppresses supply and ends up actually having the reverse effect. And I want us to rethink this. What do we do to change our behavior? For example, how do we stimulate local consumption and stimulate consumption of locally produced foods? How do we ensure that banks don't, for example, take advantage of monetary policy rate increases to actually make more profit by increasing lending rate?
The forum, which was attended by the diplomatic community, business leaders, politicians, among others, is themed Unlocking Opportunities, Re-engineering Ghana's Economic Model for Sustainable Development.
That was my colleague Calvin Powell with that report there.
Starr Today, first, fast, and credible.
Let's now do sports, and my colleague Benjamin Yamwa with the latest in sports has joined me in the studio. Bengazi, good evening.
Good evening to you, Tutuwaa.
What are we talking about today?
Well, we'll begin from Ghana's contingent from the just ended Olympic Games. It is over. It came to an end yesterday in a very colorful ceremony, closing ceremony yesterday in Paris to usher us toward the next Olympics, which is in some 4 years' time in LA, Los Angeles, in the USA. That's where the next Olympics will be held in 2028.
Right.
So now Ghana's contingent to the just ended Olympic Games in Paris will be arriving tonight at the Kotoka International Airport. Now the Ghana Arsenal went out there with 6 athletes and 2 swimmers at the Games. However, none of them could even get to a final of any of the events they partook in at the Games, and they were all eliminated. Now with the Games officially coming to an end on Sunday, Ghana contingent with officials are set to arrive in the country tonight at 10 p.m. So 10 p.m. tonight, the Ghana contingent, mostly going to be officials and a few local athletes who were there, are going to be here, because the foreign-based contingent, I'm told, are going to be leaving straight to their various places, USA especially, and also the UK for the swimmers. And the others are going to be coming to Ghana with the officials who are part of the contingent for Ghana at these particular games. Still on the local front now, in football, Brighton and Hove Albion have agreed a season-long loan deal for Black Stars forward Ibrahim Osman to Dutch Eredivisie side Feyenoord, as confirmed by transfer football expert Fabrizio Romano. The deal does not include a buy option for Feyenoord, with Brighton set to cover Ibrahim Osman's full wages during his stay with Feyenoord in the Dutch Eredivisie. Now, Osman, who joined Brighton from Norgeland in Denmark earlier this year, scheduled for a medical on Tuesday, with an official presentation to follow on Wednesday for Feyenoord fans. The loan move is intended to provide him with valuable playing time and experience also in top-flight football in Europe. Now, Osman made a strong impact during his time in Denmark, with Norgeland recording 6 goals and 7 assists in 26 games for Norgeland. Now, that's the news out there involving Ibrahim Osman, now off on loan from Brighton in the EPL to Feyenoord in the Dutch Eredivisie. Some other news on the local front, but in football again, and deputy coach for Azakes ladies, Emmanuel Mensah, admitted that their first Champions League game with Omnisport at Tinsale was chaotic. The game, which ended in a stalemate in Bouaké in Côte d'Ivoire, means Azakes need to improve and get results against Edo Queens of Nigeria and AS Garde Nationale of Niger in their 2 remaining fixtures. The Nigerian side picked a 5-0 win over Niger's AS Garde Nationale in the other group fixture that was played also yesterday. Addressing the media after the draw for Hazakat against Omnisport, Emmanuel Mensah admitted the game was very tough for his team and was therefore very chaotic for them.
Yeah, I think I gave a detailed, for me, analysis of how the game went. It was more chaotic for us because we couldn't penetrate. The opponent was very solid, very compact, and was playing the counter-attacks. And these are ladies, they played in their first match, and so they looked a bit tense. We lost so much possession whenever we progressing. So they win the ball, and it's easy for them to counter us. We were more calm, trying to find a space to attack. They were very aggressive, they win, and it was easy for them to attack. And so that was how they managed to get more chances to score. But I would say that our opponent were very good, they were very organized, and it was very chaotic for us. But at the end, I think that we also deserve that kind of applause because we still didn't concede, and it's okay. Okay.
That's Coach Mensah for Hazakas ladies, who are, of course, out there in Ivory Coast for the CAF Champions League qualifiers for Owafo in the opening fixture drawing with Etiseli of Burkina Faso. Let's go on to the Paris Olympic Games medal, the final medal table, as we had it as of yesterday. And like it always happens almost every now and then, Team USA ended up as the overall winners on the medal haul, amassing, listen to this, 126 medals in total for USA in the games. They had 40 gold medals, 44 silver medals, and 42 bronze medals, totaling 126 medals in total for Team USA as winners, number one on the medal table. Second is China. China also had 91 medals in total. So if you look at USA's medal haul and China, the difference over 30 medals difference between the two nations. But they are second, 40 gold medals, 27 silver, and 24 by way of bronze. Third was Japan, who had also 20 gold medals, 12 silver, 13 bronze, totaling 45. Now, fourth was Australia on some 53 medals in total, but they had fewer gold medals, so they had 18 gold medals. Fifth, the host nation, France, ended up as fifth. They had 64 in total, but 16 gold medals for them. The sixth place was taken by the Dutch. Holland or Netherlands came in sixth. Seventh was Great Britain. That is England, Wales, Ireland, all of them together. Scotland, all of them together. Great Britain. Then we had eighth, picked up by South Korea, who had 32 medals in total. Italy came in ninth. And Germany finished 10th on the medal table, 33 medals in total for them, 12 by way of gold medals for Germany at the games. I'm sure you're still wondering if I'm going to get to Ghana. Well, you can't forget it. Ghana didn't pick a single medal.
I lost hope a long time ago.
Yeah. Somebody, how I said, that looks as though, we are a bit better off than Nigeria, our good friends and brothers.
Course.
They went there with over 80 athletes. They had 0 medals to return. Unfortunately for them, their biggest hope was on Amusan in the 110-meter hurdles for the women, but she could not make the final, surprisingly. So Nigeria also missed out on any medals, 0 medals. Ghana, 0 as far as the games. Africa, it was Kenya that did the best for Africa, getting themselves up there. So they won the African medal table, if you like, with South Africa, Ethiopia, and others following in that order. So Ghana, unfortunately.
And talking about Nigeria, I just remember that cyclist who went there without a bicycle. How embarrassing. But they think they are better than
It reminds me so much of the Ghana games when our Ghanaian guys, their bicycles were not good enough. We were breaking down whenever they were doing. I mean, the problem with, I don't want to say Africa, maybe with Sub-Saharan Africa, even that take away South Africa or some part of the Southern Africa, I'm thinking there's something not right with some of us in the West Central side of Africa. As
when
far
it comes
as
to
sports development, talents we have them, but the development and what we need to add to it to ensure they can get to the very top is our problem. And Ghana, it's worse off. We are worse off. But anyway, tomorrow on the game, today we couldn't come through the game, but tomorrow on the game, we are doing a proper post-mortem of the Olympic Games and how Ghana, why Ghana messed up at the games this year.
Right. Thank you very much, Benghazi, for those sports updates.
Of course, tomorrow is 1 p.m.
1 p.m.
The game is 1 p.m. on GH1 on Starr FM. Yeah.
Great. Thank you very much. That was my colleague Benghazi with the sports updates. Let's do some international stories now. And President Paul Kagame has urged Rwandese to ensure that peace is maintained in the country. He made these remarks during his swearing-in ceremony at a national stadium in Rwanda after winning 99% of the votes in last month's election. Now, while some hail Mr. Kagame for bringing peace and stability to his country after the 1994 genocide, others accuse him of running a repressive regime in the country where ordinary people are afraid to openly criticize him. But addressing the Rwandese at his swearing-in ceremony, the president expressed his thanks to the people and urged them to breed peace in the country.
Peace in our region is a priority for Rwanda, yet it has been lacking, particularly in eastern DRC. But peace cannot be delivered by anyone from anywhere, no matter how powerful, if the party most directly concerned does not do what is needed. Without that, the sincere mediation efforts by the mandated regional leaders cannot work as intended. Peace cannot happen all on its own. We all have to do our part and the right things in order to achieve and sustain peace. This should not be seen as a favor to anyone. For anyone to do what is needed for everybody to have peace and have their rights can't be a matter of favors being dished out to people. It's an obligation. In the end, when it doesn't happen, that's why people stand up and fight for it. It should be understood as a necessity because it is a question of people's rights.
That was Paul Kagame's there. Rwanda's president, I beg your pardon. Let's move to Nigeria from Rwanda. And a lawyer and democracy rights activist in the country has attributed all hardships facing Nigerians to the constitution being used by the federal government, describing the book as dubious. Now, after several days of protest against hunger and bad governance by the youth of the country, there are many who still believe there is more that can be done for the country to move in the right direction. One of such people is Uche Gocha, who is a lawyer and democracy rights activist in the region. According to him, until the constitution is changed, their problems will still persist.
The point is that we must recognize that we have a rogue constitution, and it is the rogue constitution that is the source of all the problem we have in this country. And no matter what you say on any subject, unless we resolve the issue of the constitution, however you try to solve any of the problems, whether it is state creation or revenue or restructuring, everything falls face flat. I'll give you a simple and practical example. The biggest favor you can do to Bola Tinubu today is to say, everybody go and ask your governors how they are spending their money. Am I right? He will be glad if we all move down to our states to start asking our governors how they are using our money. But why do you want to waste your time to go and ask the governor how they are using your money, when the 1999 Constitution has granted every governor immunity and has protected him to go ahead and steal as much as he can?
And that is how we end this edition of Starr Today. Thank you very much for tuning in. For more news updates, of course, do log on to starfm.com.gh. I am Tutuwaa Danso, and a special thank you to my production team led by Edem Kojo, Prince Essien, Benjamin Saki, and Emmanuel Donko for streaming this broadcast live on Facebook. Thank you very much. We are back tomorrow with more news and updates. See you. Bye.